Okay, so we're back on the $60 million script, all right, this little baby. So welcome to episode 3 in that series. So we've gone through, the first episode was about frameworks. The second ep in terms of scripting for sales was about the introduction, right? So if you haven't seen those, go back and check those out just to get some context on what we're talking about today. So today we're talking about the big one, the big kahuna, which is discovery. There's 2 components to discovery, right? I think, and they're both different depending on the product, the customer, the execution. Is it a service product? Is it a physical product, et cetera, et cetera. As you know, I've used this script across multiple companies and we tweak and alter it depending on the business. I'm going to wind back to the Epicenter is one of our education ed tech brands selling accredited products or programs online, you know, business, finance, marketing, those sorts of things. That's where the script is going to relate to, right? So in terms of discovery, it's pretty critical. You got to get it right, 100%. If you don't do a discovery, it's very hard to figure out how you will service the customer and whether the customer is in a position where purchasing the product will help with the result that they're trying to achieve. And without that connection, you'll get a lot of hearsay from a customer because there'll be no solid foundation of them making the decision to commit and move forward and pay you the thousands of dollars that you're asking them for, right? So discovery is critical, right? So I'm going to open up the little magic book and we're going to go into discovery. So again, we have 2, practical and emotional. I may break this up into 2 sections, so 2 series actually. We might do another one because there's a lot in discovery. So I'm going to start with the practical applications of discovery. When you enter the call with a customer, the first thing you're going to do, if you go back to the last episode, is you're going to ask them a couple of introductory questions, right? Why did you send through the inquiry? Was the first one. What are you looking to achieve? And then they are going to say to you, I want to, let's say, for example, I want to increase my income by 30%. Okay, great. How long have you been thinking about that? And what does that look like, right? I need to increase it by about $20,000. I've got a young baby on the way, and that's what we've figured out what we need to sort of, ensure that first 5 years as a family. Okay, great. So now you know that there's a reason for it. So this is real and tangible. So you're going to grab that information after you have set the agenda and you're going to go back to it. That's where we're starting today, right? So I'm in my full vertical for discovery and I'm going to go back to the questions that they answered when they first picked up the phone and we had that first initial conversation. The clients told me that they want to increase their income by 30%. There's a baby inbound. He wants to support his family. It's really important to him. And I've also asked him in that first part of the call, how long have you been thinking about this? And he said, I've been thinking about it as soon as my wife fell pregnant. Okay, great. So that makes sense. Get it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to move the discovery in alignment with that knowledge. And I'm not going to take the discovery into a place that isn't connected to it or makes sense. So think about congruency or synergy, right? You could call it. The first questions you ask a customer and a client, the discovery has to start with the information that they have provided to you. It has to be very succinct, right? It can't be disassociated because if it's disassociated to what they discussed in the first instance, what that means is the customer's going to be confused because you've asked them 3 or 4 questions or maybe 2 or 1 question, but then the next question isn't relatable to the first one you asked them. Let me demonstrate. It's really critical to get this right. So he said to me, I want to increase my income by 30%. I set the agenda and then I move into my discovery. And my first question in the discovery is, okay, so you inquired about this program. So why did you send through your inquiry? He's going to go, what the hell's going on here? But you'll be surprised the amount of agents that are on the phone who get nervous because when you're on the phone and when you're role playing, they're 2 different personalities, right? It's easier to role play after a period of time once you've done it for a while. It's like candidates being able to lie really well in interviews but can't do it in their personal life. Role playing sort of similar, so be very cautious about it. Because an agent and a sales guy can role play until the cows come home, but they cannot deliver it on the phone. So you got to really watch that, right? And you might say, things that are just not congruent, right? So just be careful. So he said he wants to increase his income by 30%. I've registered that and now I'm going into my discovery. And it starts like this. Let's just call him Matt Damon. So, hey Matt, so you mentioned you're looking to increase your income by 30%. Okay, and you have a baby on the way. By the way, congratulations. I think that's pretty awesome. So let's talk about the 30%. I just want to understand and unpack that a little bit with you if that's okay. So my question would be, your wife and yourself have really considered this because not many people that I speak to on a call know exactly the amount of money that they want to increase it by. So can I ask, that 30%, what does that look like in real terms? Now, the reason I ask that question is I'm trying to get the number. Is it 15,000? Is it 13,200? Because what I can do is I can compare the increase to the cost of the product. I have to be tangible and I have to be real. And again, when I go to close the deal on the guy because I can help him, I need to validate the investment. So it's not a sale, it now becomes an investment because that's how the customer sees it. He wants to increase his income by, say, $20,000 a year. All right, let's just stick with that number. Actually, let's make it 30. I think in the last step I called it 30,000. Well, I will get to the call and the close, and this is how you use synergy through the whole duration of the sales call. Is that, you know, when he goes to push me a little bit, I'm going to say, hang on a minute. I'm asking for $5,000 so you can earn $30,000. Do you think that that's a good investment? So the discovery is there to get practical, intelligent information on your customers so you can sustainably help them. It's not just to create conversation and talk bullshit. It's got to be very, very well structured. So let me go back to the start. So I've asked him if he could clarify what that number looks like. Now, if he doesn't want to give it to me, no harm, no foul, that's okay. And sometimes you might want to precursor that with, hey, I hope you don't mind me asking. And if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But that pay increase, what does that look like exactly in terms of financials? I don't want to tell you that. Okay, that's great. Well, look, is it about a 10 or 15 or 20% increase on what you're earning now? He goes, yeah, it is. Okay, great. So now you know that at least it's sort of solid and now you can move through. Now, the reason I stick on that is because that's what he told me in the first part of the call. So just realize that it could be a whole bunch of different things. You might need to wind in a whole bunch of different things. It could be a new industry. I hate my boss. I need a new job on board. You know, I want to learn some new skills. I want some more knowledge to be a little bit more valid in the market. I want to get out of obscurity and get some attention from the big employers so I can get a big salary. And I'm trying to line my career up. I never finished off my degree. All of these things could happen and unfold on the course. So your discovery has to only pick one or two items. You can't talk about everything. I always like to go to money and I like to go to results, right? And most people want to educate themselves, say if they're purchasing one of our products, one of our ed tech businesses, to increase their income and move towards prosperity. Everyone wants to move towards prosperity. So I have to wrap it up like that and make it look like an investment because it actually is. And that's the truth, right? So once I've got that number, I might just get some general information. So what do you do for work now? I do X. Okay, how long have you been there? I want to look at his sustainability and employment. So is this just about the money or is this wrapped up with something else? So now I want to get some additional information around it. And he might go, well, look, I've been thinking about moving jobs anyway in careers, so I thought I could do all of this at the same time. Great, so now I've got two things. Money, 30% pay increase, plus the customer's been thinking about moving to another industry and another job for quite a few years. So now I've got two pieces of valid information. The other pieces of information, where he works, you know, all that sort of stuff is secondary or third proprietary information for me. Those are the two things that he is really interested in. And through experience, you just get to know that. And I might ask him, okay, so what's your actual position in the role you've got now? I'm a manager. Okay, great. How many people do you manage? Okay, great. So talk to me about why you've been thinking about leaving that employer for a few years before your wife fell pregnant. Oh, look, I've applied for 2 or 3 jobs and I haven't been promoted yet. And I think it's unfair. I've been there longer than some of the other guys. I just think I need to move on. Okay, that's pretty powerful, right? So I'm definitely going to note that as part of the key criteria. So he's not being recognized in his current role. Probably a couple of reasons. He's not good at what he does and he's in the wrong job. But that's pretty powerful that he's not getting promoted over people that haven't been there as long as him. And that's really important to him, especially as a man, right? So having a bit of EQ and emotional intelligence in that space is really critical, which is hard to learn. But if you're working in sales, it's pretty powerful. I think you need to understand human psychology. So I sort of get that. So I can have a deep conversation with him around that. So I'm not a surface level conversationalist when it comes to dealing with a client or a customer. I like to get really focused and go deep to the point where I turn my screens off and I just have a piece of paper and a pen and I just look down at that and I just really focus on the words and the tone of the customer. I think that's really important. So I'm going to run through some other discovery questions quickly. How many people in your team? What's the company name? How many employees are employed by the company? Because there might be an opportunity for referral later on down the track. So I want to take note of that. Where is the company? You know, where do you live? Have you lived there all your life? I've also got, this is for one of our construction programs. So I've got here, are you trade qualified? When did you do that? Did you do that via classes? Was that online? Because I want to understand if they've done an alignment with the product. Have they done an online product before? And has it been in the last 12 to 36 months? You know, the world is moving fast in terms of technology and AI. and that online learning ed tech space that two of our companies play in, which are our biggest companies, by the way, I need to understand, are they going to be comfortable with executing against the product? Because that's going to be an obstacle for me that I'm going to have to objection handle later on down the track. Look, and if they have any qualifications, I'll say, look, do you have copies of those? I'd love to get copies of those. What about a resume? Do you have one? So I'm going to ask those questions. And then I'm going to dig deep on their job and maybe a little bit about the child, the family, and just get a bit of an understanding about that. Okay, so, and then I'm going to leave it at that. Now, I'm probably at about 4 to 5 minutes, right? And I think if you do a discovery component on practical components, if it's 60 seconds or 120, so 2 minutes, I think you're underselling it. So I'm going to leave it there. So that's our discovery for the practical component of our discovery. On the next step, we're going to talk about the emotional component to discovery, which is completely different game. You can't have that conversation with everybody. Some people are just not comfortable with it. So I want to talk about awareness, and we'll dive into that on the next step. So hope you got something out of that. Again, we're going to run this through quite a few episodes, so stay tuned for that. Really appreciate you watching, and look forward to talking to you next time. Cheers. Look, I hope you found something that you liked or that you think may work for your business. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button. We try to push out as much content and good content as we can. Really appreciate you watching, and look forward to speaking to you next time.